There's a movement underground, and now my seeds are sprouting. They're pushing up, pushing out, 'cause there is no more doubting. Movement in the air, there's a movement in my soul.
Hey there, this is delAmor, and I'm talking to you from a quiet little spot on Cape Cod, Massachusetts, on a beautiful sunny day. And I wanted to talk with you today about an interesting way to live our lives and kind of make the decisions and the course for our lives. A little bit different than the mainstream status quo, and a more ancient way of living our lives in a way that maybe we need to revive at this point. And it's the way of listening to Spirit and following the signs that Spirit has to offer about what's next for us, about what's real for us, about what's true for us as individuals, instead of looking out to the cultural norms of our society to let us know when we should go to school to study, when we should get married, when we should have children, what clothes we should wear, what we should say or not say. Instead of looking outward to those to just kind of fit into the norm of the people around us and the expectations that they have, really tuning into and tapping into that spiritual guidance that rises up from within, and trusting that. At this point in time, I feel like it's so key to kind of reset our dials in that way, because as we can tell from looking around in our predominant culture and the mainstream society, those social norms that we've gotten used to and that we thought we could kind of count on for several decades and a couple of generations are now starting to show signs and symptoms of decline and of failure and of not being able to meet our needs for sustainability, wellness, success, joy. We're starting to see very clear signs that if we just go along with the status quo and follow all the cultural norms, then we can count on experiences like dissatisfaction or depression. We can count on experiences like disease and diabetes, obesity, cancer. Those are becoming the kind of norm results of the norm behavior. So now at this point in time, it's more important than ever to start to look away from, okay, that's what everybody else is doing, but what do I need to do for my own wellness? And how does Spirit want me to deliver my gifts to the world? And those messages may lead you down a somewhat different path, maybe a drastically different path than if you followed the cultural norms. So I want to talk a little bit about how to do that, because of course we know how to do the normal, the mainstream. Everybody's doing that around us. We have lots of modeling for that. But this kind of idea of tuning into Spirit and listening to Spirit's message, that's a little bit unusual, and it requires developing some skill. So the first and most important thing to do if we want to start living our lives in that way is to quiet the noise in our lives down as much as possible, to quiet down the messages that we're receiving from the media or from our peers or from our family about what is acceptable, what's right for us, and to start tuning into our own sense of joy. Start tuning into our unique connection to Spirit. And if you haven't done so already, if you go to my website, radiantbalance.com, and subscribe to my mailing list, you'll get a free video that's a guided meditation. And that's just a useful tool to help you start to tune into that inner place. So if you haven't done that already, I recommend checking that out, and at least that'll be kind of a first step in that direction. And then really developing that intuition over time and discovering what your own unique sacred purpose is, and developing the skills to not only hear it and listen to it and be able to know what it is, but also to trust it and to be able to bring it forward into the world without the inhibitions and blocks that we may all experience, from our conditioning. So that's kind of something that I can support you with in our personal work, in the private coaching that I do, or that you can find find support for in many other places. But those pieces are really key. And then beyond that is to look to the world as though it's speaking to you, to start to open your senses up and to pay attention to this whole play of reality as though it's a message directly for you. It's a specific communication from Spirit, from God, to you about what you should be up to right now and where you should be going. And of course, we're getting lots of information all the time, so there's a way to kind of hone in on what is really being said and to start to tune our instrument to be able to feel the vibration of joy and the vibration of excitement, to know what kind of, how to read that dial, where to go from here, what's calling strongly. And you'll notice in a lot of my videos and a lot of things I have to share, I am always wanting to tune back into and bring, kind of embrace the perspective of indigenous cultures from all over this world as we start to find our way again in the modern world. And so an important aspect of doing this is to start to actually understand that the world is alive, the world is conscious, that every aspect of the world is alive and conscious, and so that we can start to give and receive, give and exchange information with the world around us. Whether that's a bird that flies by at a particular time, and you can maybe look up what does that bird mean and find out, what does that say to you. Maybe you were thinking about a certain thing when you came across that bird. Maybe it's a certain kind of confluence of people having a certain conversation that it just answers the questions that you had brewing in you. Maybe it's a series of messages through print, written word, and songs, and different pieces that come together and they spell out an answer to something that was yearning inside of you. And in the native traditions, this was always the case. Is that they understood that they were part of a large living organism, and they paid attention and asked for communication and listened for communication and knew how to receive that. And so this is us reawakening to that. One modern resource that I find really helpful and that I enjoy using a lot in my own life is the Medicine Cards by Jamie Sams. And they are a divination deck, a deck of cards that you can pull to, you can ask a question and then pull a card, and it can show you a certain aspect of reality that maybe you need to be focusing on at that time. But all of the cards are animals, and so you can also use it in the way that maybe a fox runs across the road in front of your car, or you are out walking and you see a baby deer, or something along those lines, and you're feeling something, thinking something, and you want to know maybe what does that deer have to do with that thought that I'm having now. And you can look up in the book and find out, oh, this is what deer medicine is all about. And so this is a modern way for us to reconnect with and tap into an ancient way of giving and receiving information with the world around us. I know before I went on this road trip, I got some beautiful elk medicine. I was out walking and doing videos, and sat down to do a video and startled a baby elk that was there all by herself. And she was so sweet, and she stayed there, and we hung out together, and I just shared space with her for a little while and kind of listened to, her energy at that point. And then when I was on my way walking out of there, I came across some beautiful elk bones, a full spine and a jawbone, and they spoke to me really strongly. They seemed really interesting, really cool, like I was drawn to them. And so when I went home, I looked up elk medicine in the book, and I found there that it was stamina. And this was right before I headed out on this trip, and let me tell you, I have needed that stamina, and that elk medicine has been so important through this whole trip, and I've been holding it really near and dear to my heart. So that's just an example of one way that we can follow the signs, and there are so many ways. The main message here is that the world is alive, that God is speaking to you in every moment. Everything that anybody says or does, anything that you hear through the radio or see in the world around you, that's Spirit speaking to you, giving you your messages. And I encourage you to begin to learn how to open up to them, listen to them, and to trust them, because right now we need people on the planet who are following the signs and following intuition so that we can come together for the healing of this world. Please share any comments or feedback about this video in the comment section below, and I'd love to hear from you. What are the signs and the tools that you use? If there are any resources that you use for following the signs in your life, or anything that you've learned and discovered about following Spirit's messages and your own intuition, please share them in the comments below, and let's see if we can develop some resources for each other in this work. Many blessings to you. I hope your day delivers you beautiful messages about who you are and what you should be up to at this time in your life. Many blessings. Aho.
Feel it in the heart, and can you feel it in the heart? We'll open up and let it in now. We can begin to feel it in the heart.